This video is brought to you by Aura. If you're a young Zoomer who clicked on this video, you may or may not remember the Hunger Games. If you did watch it, you were probably a little kid at the time, just enjoying a good movie with an interesting storyline. Little did you know you were watching a literal foreshadowing of your own future adulthood, as the modern day Gen Z economy and job market actually scarily resembles many dynamics that we saw in the Hunger Games at this point. For those of you who didn't watch the Hunger Games, it's essentially about a dystopian future where the world is divided into 6 factions who all live in extreme poverty, fighting for scraps of food. Once per year, the rich elite organize an event called the Hunger Games, where one talented young person from each faction is selected to participate in a massive battle royale representing their faction. It's a battle to the death, as there can only be one winner, and that winner is only declared when everyone else dies. I'm kind of oversimplifying the Hunger Games a bit. I mean, A, I don't want to give out too many spoilers, and B, I don't want to turn this video into a full-on synopsis of the Hunger Games, but that's the general premise. Now, we have something very, very similar going on in the modern day economy for Gen Z. It is a brutal zero-sum game where only a few lucky talented people win and everyone else is left eating the cheapest food and living in their cars. In fact, just like the Hunger Games, the modern Gen Z economy can be divided into 6 different factions. These 6 factions are number 1, college, number 2, traditional work, number 3, influencers, number 4, the stock market / crypto bros, number 5, tech, and finally, number 6, the one that might just be winning at this particular moment in time, the trades. Hey guys, before we continue, I have a couple of very exciting announcements to make. First of all, I want to give a huge thanks to all of you for helping us get past 7,000 subscribers. It's kind of an interesting lucky number to begin with, and to me personally, in a weird way, I don't know, it kind of signals that we're closer to 10K than 0, which is always a huge milestone for us. And as we hit 7K subscribers, I'm also proud to announce that we've received our first official sponsor for this channel, Aura. It is no secret that we love to talk about very controversial, edgy stuff here in our community. And with free speech under threat seemingly every day now, it is more important now than ever to protect your online privacy and security. This is where the sponsor of today's video, Aura, comes in. Have you ever wanted to take your online security and privacy seriously, but just found it to be way too big of a hassle to download and pay for like literally 10 different apps at once? Aura takes everything you need from identity theft protection to antivirus to even a VPN and much more, and puts it all together in one easy-to-use app. I actually tried it myself, and I was shocked to find out how many leaked emails and passwords it detected from some of my old real accounts I used to use across the internet. And I was able to quickly change my passwords to protect myself. Best of all, they have a VPN feature included, which I know a lot of you are going to love. You can now browse the web with full peace of mind knowing you can comment whatever you want and your identity will be fully protected. The VPN is also incredibly fast, by the way. I mean, I didn't even notice I was on a VPN as I was using it. Now, if you were to subscribe to an antivirus, a VPN, a data protection service all individually, you would end up paying quite a lot. But with Aura, you get all these features rolled into one. So check out the link in the description and the pinned comment, or visit aura.com/philosophicalgamer to get a 14-day free trial for Aura. Now, because of stupid, outdated advice from delusional boomers who don't understand how the modern economy has changed, Gen Z is constantly getting bounced around from one faction to the next, always being promised that this is going to be the life-changing key to success and that the next one is going to be the winner. It's so funny because just like the Hunger Games, there's literally a different faction that wins every year with Gen Z. I mean, Gen Z was the first generation to grow up with social media and see influencers make it big through YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. That faction probably won the first Gen Z Hunger Games before it got oversaturated to hell and the competition became ridiculous. And so, pre-pandemic, right as Gen Z came of age, tech jobs were all the hype and everyone was just saying, learn to code. I mean, you guys remember that. That wasn't that long ago. And now, as we have all seen, that market has also gotten oversaturated to hell, and even guys with 10 to 15 years coding experience are struggling to find work. Crypto was on fire last year, and those who got in, I should say, did quite well, but it's cooled off pretty significantly now, to say the least. And so that leads us to the current winner of this year's Gen Z Hunger Games. Probably, I would say, the faction of the trades. I mean, the trades are just hot shit right now. You've probably seen this all over the headlines. I've even seen it in my comments over and over at this point. Just get in the trades, bro. Just do it. Like, you'll be rich in no time. You only have to go to school 2 to 3 years. You don't have to go into debt like with college. I mean, from an individual standpoint, I guess this isn't horrible advice, but just like with every other faction, there will probably be a 2 to 3 year window where you can actually get into trades and make decent money before the same thing that's happened to every other faction inevitably happens to the trades as well. Everyone's going to flock to it, and when they see it's the new winner of the Gen Z Hunger Games, it too will get oversaturated to hell. The competition will be ridiculous, and just like with coding, crypto, Instagram, YouTube, and everything else Gen Z was told to do, it will once again be impossible to get a job in the trades. So if you correctly predicted the winner of this year's Gen Z Hunger Games and got in on the trades, good for you. But this doesn't really solve any of the problems we're facing on a more macro societal level here, does it? If you're wondering why the modern economy for young people has devolved into such a dystopian hellscape, and why all this stupid, outdated advice from your delusional boomer parents always leads you to the same exact place in the end, it's for two simple reasons that these moronic old farts just can't seem to wrap their minds around. Number one, the modern economy has become a zero-sum game. And number two, the world changes, and it's not 1960 anymore. Shocker, I know. I briefly talked about how the economy is a zero-sum game in one of my recent videos, and surprise, surprise, a bunch of delusional old farts came out the woodwork with their typical condescending narcissistic attitude, trying to accuse me of being a naive child who doesn't understand how economics works. So let's settle this once and for all. Their logic is that new technology and new innovation supposedly creates new jobs, and therefore the economy is not a zero-sum game. This once again just proves they're still living in 1960s, as modern day technologies, most notably AI, are only being used to destroy jobs and not to create them. But you don't even have to believe the AI hype to see that technology has reached a tipping point where it destroys more jobs than it creates. We've already had a major technological advancement in our lifetimes that destroyed far more jobs than it created. And that, my friends, was the internet. You may or may not remember Blockbuster if you're Gen Z, but as a millennial, it was our go-to store for movie rentals long before Netflix existed. Blockbuster at its peak in 2004 employed over 84,000 people. Now, we all know what happened with Blockbuster by now. After the internet took over our lives, Netflix just became way more convenient and completely pushed Blockbuster out of business. Now, Netflix, on the other hand, only employs about 13,000 people. And this makes sense. Objectively speaking, you're just going to need to hire more people when you have many physical locations spread throughout the country to manage and maintain, as opposed to just being an online streaming service. So, yes, these old farts are half right that new technology and innovation creates new jobs. Problem is, they're either too stuck in their ways or just too flat out too stupid to see the other side of the equation, which is that it eliminates way more jobs than it creates. Netflix may have created 13,000 new jobs, but it did so by first destroying 84,000 old ones. And so as a result, we have a total job loss of over 70,000. When you actually look at the facts and numbers, it might be way too generous to even call it a zero-sum game. It's actually a negative-sum game at this point. This is why I have zero doubt the AI hype is real and it's going to take a huge chunk of our jobs. We have already seen this happen with the internet. Now, there are other reasons the economy is a zero-sum game now. The fact that the population is declining, meaning there are far less new consumers. The fact that we're being flooded with migrants. The fact that unlike before the internet, where you were just competing against people in your own small town, The entire world can now apply to a job opening at your local restaurant with a simple click of a button. Okay, so I think I've made my point clear enough and destroyed these delusional boomers enough by now. Let's go back to talking about our Gen Z Hunger Games, why the world is like this now, and more importantly, what, if anything, can you do about it? Since we've now clearly established that yes, the modern economy is in fact a zero-sum game, if not a negative-sum game, this allows us to have a much easier understanding of the dynamics behind the modern-day Hunger Games we live in, and why we're constantly being pushed from one faction to the next, and why none of them really work out in the end, aside from a few select lucky winners. Oversaturation. This is a word you've probably heard countless times to describe, well, probably everything in your life if you're a Zoomer. YouTube is oversaturated, college degrees are oversaturated, tech is oversaturated, the job market is oversaturated, so on and so forth. What boomers and the mainstream media don't understand is that yes, technology made your life slightly easier convenience-wise, but it made competition for everything from dating to getting a job literally a million times more insane than anything past generations could fathom. The internet and globalization has made it so you're competing against literally the entire world, and it's hard to even get a job at McDonald's at this point. And since we just discussed the economy is a zero, if not a negative-sum game at this point, even if you rise above the ranks and pick the right faction, the other 5 factions will inevitably lose. Now, this is likely only going to get worse with AI taking people's jobs as we speak, and this is why when people say the solution is to just get a better job or learn to code, or as we're seeing now, just get into the trades, yeah, it might help you on an individual basis if you're lucky enough to get in at the right time, but it doesn't actually solve anything on a macro societal level. All you end up doing is pushing the oversaturation and the ridiculous levels of competition from one job market to another, and all you do is select a new winner for the new annual Gen Z Hunger Games every year. So what can you actually do about all this? Well, you guys have kind of already intuitively figured it out. Gen Z is infamous for job hopping, and in a way, that's kind of just an adaptation to the modern Hunger Games. Since the job market is constantly changing and the oversaturation is constantly getting pushed from one job market to the next, you can just try and predict which faction is going to win next and get in on that before everyone else does. I mean, right now, everyone's raving about the trades, but trust me, if they're really that good, it's only going to be a 2 to 3 year window before it falls to the same oversaturation dumpster fire that's already happened to every other faction in the Gen Z Hunger Games. So I would go into it with a quick 2-year plan to just save up as much money as possible while you work the trades, and then just look to take your savings and check out a society. Buy a van, buy a cheap property overseas, I don't know, whatever floats your boat. But this is only a solution on an individual level. It's not going to change the fact that there can only be one winner, meaning 5 out of the 6 factions will inevitably lose no matter what. And so if you're someone who either can't find a job or doesn't want to work, there's absolutely nothing to feel bad about either. It is an objective reality that the Gen Z Hunger Games are real, that the economy is a negative-sum game, and that competition is way more ridiculous than it's ever been in human history. So it's time to just undo all the negative trauma your asshole boomer parents gave you for not getting a job. It's time you separate your own self-worth from how much money you make, or whatever your job title is. You are more than just your job. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It is perfectly fine in this economy to just stay home, live with your parents, and collect welfare until they finally recognize this problem and give us a UBI of some sort. I know it's not the politically correct thing to say, but at this point, it's just a mathematical fact right now that not everyone can get a job. And so there's really no point in beating yourself up over it at all. This society doesn't even deserve your contribution anyways, as it will only screw you over and humiliate you for your hard work in the end anyways. We expose this further in this video right here. Check it out. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.